Hello, everybody. This is Paula Wachowiak coming to you from my bedroom. I am still convalescing. This is the Common Book Show, and we're here today with Richard and Virginia and my son Tom on drums. And I don't think Paul Drajum is here
Yeah,
with us,
sure.
Mr. Photographer. Well, you'll always know it's him because you'll see the pretty pictures behind him.
Mm,
That's always, if there's pretty pictures, it's Paul.
yep,
See,
it's me.
PPP, PPP.
PPP. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was planning on taking some notes about an article I read by John Ronson. And I didn't take notes because my life is, even though I'm stuck at home, my life is chaotic. But I wanted to talk a little bit about that because this article was written in 2007. And so because this article is now included in a book, he made a point of that because it was right before the subprime mortgage failure. And he was investigating the death, the suicide of this man in England, who he's a British author, and the guy got into very serious debt, and it was after they had taken the regulations off the banking system, and it was when the bank started targeting people for these easy loans. And what happened to this guy was his wife got sick, and so he took a loan out so she could get the surgery she needed, even though they're in a place where they have socialized medicine. The wait was too long, and they wanted the surgery done immediately. And then he just kept rolling over and rolling over and rolling over, taking out another credit card to pay off another credit card, and he ended up in so much, like £130,000 in debt, and he killed himself because he could not cope with it anymore. So this guy, this John Ronson, was investigating who is responsible for this, who is responsible for all of this credit that this guy had been getting. And he found out some pretty remarkable things about some algorithms that were being used on different social media sites to get the preferences and find out things about and classify consumers, and they would find the sweet spot with these consumers. They'd find a spot where they were happy, kind of undereducated, and they had a stable family. And for some reason, those people were likely to take out an easy loan if they sent them an application. And so they were targeting these people, and there were conventions and everything where these people would get together and they'd be examining these lists of potential people who would be potentially open to taking out these loans. And then they didn't even care if the people paid the loans back, because the business model was selling that debt to other companies and making money off of the debt. And I was just like, and we still don't have regulations on our banks. And here we are, how many years later, 15, 17 years later, after that meltdown, and we're still in this situation, and they're still using these algorithms on the computer, and even Facebook, even these things that, you say, oh, what kind of princess am I? And they go in, that you give them permission to go in through all of your communications on Facebook, and they find out who you are and what you're likely to buy and what you're likely to do. So people shouldn't do those things. They seem like fun. Oh, gee, let me see what kind of princess I am. I know what kind I am. I'm old, and I'm an old princess. But
You know,
it's
and you know about those things. I don't mean to interrupt you, but while you're on that topic of those games, because that's what they
yeah,
are, they're like a game.
yeah,
Even if you like them, you shouldn't even be liking them. You should be just trolling right past them and making any comment, no like, no nothing on those. So the danger is not only playing the game, but responding to the game in any capacity.
Yeah, I wasn't really aware of that, but I can see where that would be prudent. You know,
Right, right.
This is the story that Paula was
yeah,
talking about by John
yes,
Ronson.
yes. And it was in the Guardian, right? It
Yep.
was originally in the Guardian. See, when I read these stories in the book, I look them up online so I can send them to Richard because we tend to have similar tastes and those kind of journalism articles. I don't know if you had a
Now,
chance to read it.
now I saw where it says that he took out a loan for 4,000 and it somehow escalated because of fees and whatever to 139,000. Is
Well,
that right,
no,
Rich?
he first took out the one loan for the 4,000 to pay for his wife's surgery, and then when that came time to pay, he didn't have the money to pay for it, so he took out another, like, a credit card. I mean, he certainly didn't do anything smart here. This was not smart, but he got kind of sucked into it, and by the time he owed all that money, all the fees and all the interest were accruing, and he was only paying the interest, and so it never got back, and
It's
it
like a
just is.
student loan.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. It
It's
was
like a student loan.
snowballing.
Hmm.
That's a
But you know,
that's a good, yeah.
when we say, Paula, when we say that he didn't make smart decisions, we're automatically putting the onus of responsibility on him and not the business model.
Oh, no, I understand, and
I know that you don't want to do that. I know you don't want to do that. But
yeah.
somebody listening might say, well, the guy wasn't too smart. But you know what? How smart is it to take out a loan for your wife's surgery? That's the tragedy. That to me is
Well, I
like
mean, for
outrageous
him,
that we live in a world where you have to take out a loan to have
right,
a medical
that
service.
was in England where there's socialized medicine. He could have waited, however long it was going to take, but he felt it was important to have that surgery done as soon as possible.
Exactly.
So, I
Mhm.
mean, they do, at least they have socialized medicine there. So he didn't even have to um, accept that he was concerned, which is understandable. But here in this country now, I thought about this. I mean, I have pretty comprehensive insurance. If I didn't, I don't know what I would be looking at as far as bills go for having to go to the emergency room and being in the hospital all that time, all those X-rays they took, all the
You want the solution to
cats,
that?
the cat. What's that?
The solution is you pay $10 a month and don't worry about it.
Well, I just feel first of all, I got to comment on that cat picture. That's pretty awesome, Paul.
Thanks. Thanks.
But secondly, I mean, I know people do that, but the thing is, in other countries, medical expenses are not like they are. I mean, that $4,000 operation that she had in 2007 probably would have cost $40,000 here.
More than that.
Well, let me tell you something. So when I went to the emergency room when I injured my finger when I was in Buffalo, just to go into ECMC, the bill was a total of 4,700. 3,700 of it was just to go in.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous.
it's insane.
Yeah. I mean, I have insurance. I didn't have to pay that. But when I got the bill, I'm like, what the hell procedure did they give me? Because all they did was when I went in, they looked at my finger and it said, yeah, it has to heal on its own because it got infected. And so they just wrapped it up. They soaked it and put me on my way. Like, really?
That's
And it
wild.
costs-
I know. And I mean, I've talked about this before. My cousin Kathy and her husband, they go to like Hungary to get their medical procedures done because it's cheaper to fly to Hungary, stay in a hotel or where they usually stay in an Airbnb and
Right.
have the procedure done. It's cheaper than
Yeah.
A
getting
lot
it
of
done
people
here.
in this country, a lot of people are flying to Greece, what have you, to have medical procedures.
Well, can you?
Yeah.
I want to
Oh.
say this.
Hello,
is
Hi,
Celeste.
Celeste.
that hi, my
Hi,
my
Celeste
sister has
Lawson. How are you?
repatriated herself to Portugal. Hi, Bridget. I'm hanging in here. Good to see you.
To see you too.
And everybody.
what
but,
a pleasant surprise.
She repatriated herself to Portugal.
I think Tom's trying to
Yeah.
finagle the picture so we can get another
Yeah, I try
image
to
in.
get on when I can. I don't always make it.
Yeah, so it's good to see you,
It's
Celeste.
okay. But anyway, she moved to Portugal for this very purpose.
Now, who is this?
Yeah, the medical concerns, not that she has any terminal illness or anything like that. My sister.
Oh, your sister.
I have
okay.
one sister, and she's relocated to Portugal. Really, in response to, well, she had been living in Florida. Yeah. And, Florida's not for everyone. I don't know if
No,
Florida
it's
should be for anyone. But anyway, she sold her house. She had moved from Maryland to Florida. All right.
Wow.
And, as you get older, your body requires different levels of attention for different reasons.
Right.
And that's why she moved to Portugal. We have both done some research about places, cost of living versus, what amenities may or may not be available to you as someone who's gotten, who has determined that they want to repatriate. And Portugal is very, very popular, very, very popular. So much so that the government is starting to take steps to
keep
protect
people-
its citizens because with the number of people from the UK in particular moving to Portugal and now Americans, right? It's the cost of living is starting to outpace the reach of the real Portuguese people. So it's an
happens.
interesting phenomenon, but she's had some work done since she's been there. She had a back problem, and then her routine, eye and dental, and from her perspective, things that she would have paid thousands of dollars for here in the States, she's paying a few $100s there. And the quality of the care, their public health system is the strong system as opposed to the private practices, which don't seem to have the latest, they're not the same level of state of the art as the public health
that's
hospitals
really...
or venues there. So it's a little bit of a reverse than our situation here on this side of the ocean.
Yeah, I'm always flabbergasted by these stories about people who have, lost everything because they got sick. And hi,
Made it.
Hello, Laura.
Better late than never. I'm always fashionably something or another.
Tom, you gonna be able to fit everybody?
No.
I've got 4 people on my screen.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to like pop people in and out. Is that what you're gonna do, Tom?
Yeah, they'll pop in and out as they talk.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we were talking about medical stuff, but are you in Watertown right now?
I am in Watertown right now. I am at a lovely restaurant called Maggie's on the River, picking some food up for some young gentlemen who are spending a little time with me tonight.
Oh, okay. All right. That sounds nice. So
You guys want to
Richard,
say hi? Say hello.
hi.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Oh, hi. Say hi.
What kind of food are you getting?
Hi.
Chicken on star fries.
Wow.
Chicken nugget French fries.
Chicken nugget French fries.
Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. Good to see you. Whoever you are. All right.
Blake
Richard,
and Brody Chaltain.
Yeah.
Awesome children extraordinaire.
yeah. Richard, do you have something on your list that you wanted to discuss today?
Oh, sure. Sure. You want me to go to that right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time hearing you for some reason.
Why is that, Tom?
Is your thing too far away from your mouth?
No, I think I got it at the optimum level.
Okay, that's better.
Did that help?
Yeah, that's better. I can hear you better now.
Okay, Tom found the right thing. Okay.
Okay.
So it has to do with cartoons, something that fascinates me.
Okay.
And what I have discovered is that more and more amateur cartoonists are evolving in this internet age, namely cartoonists who just write for the internet. They're not part of any newspaper, right? They're just this is what I'd like to do, and I'm going to put it on the internet, and I'm going to put it in social media, and I enjoy doing that. And what's interesting about this is all the different niches that are being explored. There are some cartoonists who only write cartoons about being in therapy. There are some cartoonists who only write cartoons about being in a relationship. Now, for example, look at this cartoon I'm going to show you. This is something you would never, ever see in a newspaper.
Oh, hey, I see Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hello.
I don't see anything, no.
Well, you're gonna. Here we go.
Here.
Look at this
Okay.
cartoon.
Gotta enlarge it.
Mhm.
You wouldn't have anything that radical ever appear in a newspaper.
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't, no, but I have,
No, you wouldn't.
I had a theory for a while that, we were kind of,
Except
we were
maybe in
kind
the days of Village Voice or something.
yeah, we were God's experiment that went terribly, terribly wrong, and He wants to forget that that He even created us, and he can't, so that would fit into that ideology.
And I wish Mr. James Walker was with us, because there is this one cartoonist who I find fascinating, because he does these cartoons and invites you to interpret them. So, for example, what is your interpretation of this cartoon?
Oh, well, to me, it looks like this woman has entangled this man in the spider web by her sweet talk.
Can you see why I was hoping Mr. Walker would be on the show?
Yeah, because then we could argue and scream, and you like that.
But I'm going to present the cartoon now, and I'll ask the people on the panel to interpret it, okay?
Okay.
It's a tough
Words
one.
have power. Words have power.
Yeah, exactly. Very good, Virginia. I see that too. You right. Not everyone has the ability to use the words like that. Some people are more timid, more reserved, but the ones that can wield power like that are dangerous.
Yeah.
That runs into, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry I don't have the next article by that John Ronson
Yeah.
was about this LM something or other, this kind of brainwashing thing that I wish I could. I can't access it on my phone because I'm on my phone now, and that's not one of my strong suits. But it was a process by which people were learning how to manipulate people um, through language and body language. So there's all kinds of tricks out there that people can use, but I guess I guess sincere, honest communication is kind
Okay,
of
boys. I don't know where Daddy's gone off to, but we
falling
gotta
apart.
run.
All right, we're gonna have to
Not me.
we're gonna have to mute or something because the kids are talking in the background and we're kind of getting some feedback here.
Yeah. See what you can do on that, Tom.
So
Well, it's interesting, but the craft of interpreting and convincing people is, I want to say, practically an ancient art,
yeah,
because
it's
we have to
rhetoric,
remember
right?
during periods, times in history, let's say, yeah, and how different forms of language
Ups.
was used to convey messages. Think about the Victorian era where women had the language of fans. And then we came up with the language of flowers. And then we had the language of colors. And in a lot of scientific research, certain colors are used to help stimulate whatever exercise
Mm-hmm.
the scientists or researchers are trying to deploy. Green being one, blue being another, red being, another way to influence how the mind is receiving information. And even recently, Michael Weatherly's television series that ended after a few seasons, it was good, called Bull. Do you remember that? And
Bull,
his
Bull.
job
Yeah. What was
on this and hired by clients was to interpret the body language and words of a jury. Bull.
Oh yeah.
Was it a fictional
And that
show
was
or
his
was it?
job. His job, his office. And that's all they did was analyze body language. No, it was a fictional show. Michael
Yeah.
Weatherly was the guy that played on NCIS for the longest time. DiNozzo. I'm a
Mhm.
big alphabet. And so after however many years, it's quite a few years, he went to his own show. And the title of it was Bull, Bull. And it was about this firm of data gatherers and language interpreters. And they were hired by clients or by anybody, Department of Defense, but primarily in criminal crimes, to see what the lawyers in question needed to do to sway the jury. And it was all kinds of body language primarily that they would watch. And so based on what that body language was that they were observing in the jury, then the lawyer would tone and tenor his words to create a different kind of response or result from the jury to let them know whether their client was going to be
This sounds like a lot
convicted,
of
acquitted,
this sounds like a
sentence
lot of
short,
what
sentence long.
they.
But it was a very fascinating period.
It sounds like they were using similar techniques to what this group was using to train these salespeople and to train anyone who wanted to learn, CEOs, just using language power and body language power. For instance, the one thing they talked about was when you get somebody to sign you want them to sign a contract. You don't put it below them, because when people look down, that's when they're thinking about their negative points about themselves. But you have to present it to them on a clipboard, even with their eye contact, so that when they see it, they feel like they're elevated. That's where their elevated thoughts live, and they're more likely to sign it. I mean, there were so many tricks and manipulations. It was fascinating. I'm just surprised that we're able to get along in our lives at all with all this stuff going on that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
You know. So it's
Very fascinating. Very fascinating, Celeste. Thank you so much. Because there is
Well, with women entering,
and there is a language of flowers, and there is all these different items in our world that we can assign meaning to. And like passive pink in the prisons, I mean, it's just fascinating.
And the thing is, we all have different. You mean the color pink could mean one thing to you, and could mean something totally else to the person next to you. So, and although there's like blue and green are soothing, they're cool colors. Red is exciting, orange is exciting, but still, there's all that information that we acquire over a lifetime.
Well, one thing that's kind of interesting too is, and I'm old enough to realize this experience everybody may not have, but women entering the workforce in management positions, and the iterations of the Dress for Success books that were out at the time to tell you what to wear to ace an interview. And what was interesting is that they were broken down in such tight categories. If you were blonde, you should do this. If you were a redhead, do that. If you were a brunette, do this. If you were African American, do that. And one of the things
a book for men like
color
that
was applicable to these. Now, yeah, right. So, there is a book for men. It started out as an original book for men.
Oh, really?
But, after World War II, especially, right, women entering the workforce at management beyond clerical, and right, and women wanted to have higher positions than they were attributed to, or allocated or appropriated to. Maybe every woman didn't want to be a secretary, although at one point in time, a male was the only secretary you could get.
Yeah, exactly. That was a very prestigious job until women got a hold of it.
Because Black women in that first or second edition, every status symbol and right. And we were advised to wear every power symbol in the book. Right. So if you were blonde, you had to appear smart. If you were a redhead, you had to appear confident and strong. If you were a brunette, you had to be capable. They had all these interpretations about what to take. Don't wear red lipstick. Yes, wear red lipstick. Don't do your nails red. Yes, do your nails red. Make them short. Make them long. They had and even through all of that, we have to face it. This day and age, we still are.
Oh, we still are
80% of a equitable wage to men, no matter what we dress and wear to work.
I used to work at Every Woman Opportunity Center for Myrna Young, and so I can really resonate with what you're saying about dress and how important it is, and how certain colors now. We didn't do blonde, brunette, or African American or whatever, but we certainly discussed color in your appearance and when you go for a job interview. And red was not the color to wear.
No, and when I was in my early 20s, I I was a mother, and I was divorced already by that time. I was like 21 and divorced, and I needed to get a job that would pay me enough to pay for childcare. You know, it was really hard. I wasn't educated. I didn't have the skills. So I decided I was going to try to be a stewardess. And so I went for my first two interviews, and I got to the third interview, and I bought myself a bright green suit. And I walked into the room, and all the girls were sitting there in black and gray and navy blue, and I stood out like a fluorescent light bulb, you know. And I at first I didn't know that. I thought, oh, I'm going to stand out. Well, I stood out all right. And then, of course, I was 21, so I failed the assertiveness test, and that's how I didn't get the job with American Airlines. But because I thought they wanted me to be nice. So the questions were, how would you handle this situation? So I always did it in the nice girl answer, you know, because I didn't know anything about, you know, having to take control in dangerous situations. But yeah, the colors in an interview. I was a job coach, Virginia. So I worked with people with disabilities to help them get jobs.
Beautiful.
And-
That's a wonderful thing, Paula.
Oh, I loved it. I did it after I retired from the state, and it was the most fun. Oh my God, I can't tell you how much fun it was. But you know, you had to sit down with people, and you had to tell them, okay, this is what you. I mean, they weren't going for executive level jobs, but you know, they had to dress appropriately. They had to not smell bad. You know, so there were a lot of things you had to go through, and you know, you had to have a decent resume, even though if there's nothing on it, you have to figure out stuff to put on it that would make you
That is
qualify for that job.
We all have transferable skills from one place to
Yes,
another.
exactly.
But
Yes,
sometimes it's very hard to figure those out unless you have help. And that's where you came in. That's where
Right.
you came in.
And I would open up, you know, doors at different companies because I'd go in there and I'd say, you want some? I had one guy that worked at McDonald's, and he wore his McDonald's shirt when he went out to the movies because he was so proud he worked at McDonald's, you know.
It's fabulous.
And I used to tell me, I said, you want somebody that's going to love coming to work every day?
Yes.
They're just going to love being here. They're going to do anything you tell them. They're going to want to, you know, make you happy. You know, these are the people you want to hire. But anyway, I got off the track there, I guess.
Look at that owl photo.
Yes.
My
I know,
goodness.
but the other one, Paul, was the other one the eyes of some insect?
That
Was
is
it like a praying
amazing.
mantis or something? You had
It's a
What
fly.
is that? It's a fly?
That's a fly?
That's a fly.
It's a type of fly.
Yeah, look at the furry antenna. And the
I mean,
big
that
eyes.
is very impressive. I was looking at that, and we were talking about something else, but I'm like, holy crow. You can see all the little pieces of his eye.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
you know,
her eye, I'm not sure.
you know, Paul, I'm excited to tell you this, and
Yes.
and I am so glad you're here so I can tell you this. I belong to this photo group with the Veterans One Stop Center. I don't know if I told you that or not. And
No.
I'm really a novice photographer. Like I took things with Ken, you know, at the Locust Street Art and at Malioga before it was, you know, the Locust Street Art. But so now we took a vote, and we've decided that we're all going to make a portfolio for the year 2024. And we each needed to pick a topic.
All right.
So I have an affection for abandoned buildings. I love photographing.
Oh, I do too. I love urban archaeology.
Well, you know, I'll do it urban, and I'll also do it when I'm like driving in the countryside out there near Castle or whatever. And so, Paul, I'm going to start a portfolio, and I just wanted to tell you that maybe someday I'll be kind of close to it, maybe not, but I am working on my photography still.
Well, Well, there's a lot of abandoned buildings in Buffalo, and there's one of them.
That oh yeah, that's what I said at the meeting. I said all I got to do is just hit certain neighborhoods, and I'm good to go.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
is that the train station in Buffalo?
yeah,
The,
that is.
What
I
is
took
that?
that.
What's the green stuff behind? I mean, what are those? Are those benches? What is
those
that
are
stuff?
houses.
No,
Those
that's
are
that's
houses?
that's that the
Parking
green
lot?
is the green is property, and then these the lines that you see on the green were the train depot where the tracks would go through and they would loading docks.
Oh, okay, all right. So that
I
was
thought they were
done with
cities-
your drone.
That is done with the drone, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, that
I love
that's-
it.
I was when I saw that I was wondering about those lines. That I didn't even realize those were still back there.
Right.
Cool.
Mm.
I'm trying to. I have another picture, but I mean, there's a lot of abandoned places. I mean,
Yeah,
you go
there
down
are.
to the waterfront. You got the Cargills, the grain elevators. Like
Oh,
I've
I
got,
know. I went kayaking over
Yeah,
there,
the
and I
grain
took some.
elevators. That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
This-
Thank you. Oh, look at
These are-
this.
This is so down at the waterfront, they restored and they used it for people to do indoor activities, climbing. There's
Aerobics or whatever.
yeah, this is all at the waterfront.
Oh, that's
This is at the
cool.
waterfront. Look at the staircase, Celeste. My gosh.
Yeah,
Up here.
Look at the staircase. That's amazing.
Celeste, have you been to that place where they have the poetry readings by the waterfront?
By the waterfront, you mean like Silo
The
City?
the grain side, the silo
I chose
place.
Wix for my
Yeah,
business
yeah.
because
I
of
read
its
there
small-
actually a few years ago.
Did you? Yeah, that's a cool place. I really like that. I saw some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some poets in there. I don't know when it was, but it was before COVID, and I just never
Yeah.
never gotten back.
Well, you know,
I
I
haven't either.
I have a column in the Buffalo Latino Village, and they've asked me if they could publish one of my poems. I'm like all excited on
That's
top of my
cool.
yeah. But you know what I want to do, Celeste, because they wanted me to because they thought that I painted this picture of this woman's face, and I didn't. So I said I would like to do a self-portrait to go along with the poem. So it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while because I got to get.
Please watch what you want to watch.
There's no, there's no more poetry in the Buffalo News anymore. I mean, they took that completely out, which is a shame.
Well, the
Yeah.
Buffalo Latino Village started as an art magazine for artists. That's what it started as, and it's morphed into a community newspaper now. And it's really an interesting read because Alberto has gotten these people that are writing columns on all different topics. But I'm excited. I'm excited that my poem's going to be.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that is very exciting. You know what? It's too bad because we had so many. We had Art Voice, we had the Buffalo Beat. We had for a short time there was that I can't remember what the name of that one was. It was so fun because there was always some place you could write for, and
Mhm.
that was really exciting.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah. Oh, that's the one with Bruce Jackson and Jeff Kelly and those guys were doing for a little while.
yeah,
Oh,
there
look
was
at
one.
Yeah,
Grain elevators. Look at that. Look at that,
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
when they
yeah,
when they
those
weren't
are.
right
I
for
love
art.
those. I love those elevators. I
that's
think
if
it's cool.
yeah, that's behind. If you go to Tiff Nature Preserve, there, it's
Yeah,
behind, if you
yeah,
walk
I've
to the
got-
back, you can see all that stuff there.
It reminds me. Tiff Nature Preserve is like after the apocalypse. You're walking through nature, and there's all these this blown up buildings.
Oh yeah,
Oh
It's a
yeah.
cool thing.
Look at that one.
Well, you know, you can still send your poems to Bob Pohl because he does publish them online. He still
Oh,
does
he
the
does?
calendar on and all of that, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't.
he does it online.
I'll have to
He
check that. I
features
haven't been.
poets. He publishes the calendar.
Well, I don't know. For me, it's like if I'm doing prose, I have a hard time. Um, I have a hard time doing poetry when I'm doing prose. I I kind of have to do one or the other. So I've been doing a lot of prose lately,
Yeah.
and it interferes with that poetic. Actually, too, I think that poetry tends to be when I'm feeling like when I'm in dark. It's a dark thing, whereas prose is a lighter
Mm-hmm.
thing, and I've been in a much lighter place lately. What are you doing these days, Celeste? What are you working on?
Well, I'm researching now. I'm hoping to have a project for Juneteenth.
Mm-hmm.
That you know, for a long time, you know, since the days of slavery and even till today, um, there's a there's this there's this thought among some that slavery had benefits,
Oh God, that was
and
just that's not some, that
and
just
not
dumb
everybody
people.
who was enslaved was unhappy, and even
You know, there are moments of
right,
happiness
okay,
in any
right. But I'm
life.
just saying, it's
Yeah,
a mythology that's
yeah,
pervasive and it's been
right.
going, and how. So what I want to do, and there's sort of a batch of them, letters written by people who escaped slavery, bought their freedom, or were enslaved, and they were writing to their plantation owners, former
Hmm.
and present, to say, okay, how is my family? Or listen, I worked all these years for you, and now I'm free, and I want back wages. I mean, it's an array of
Wow. Where are you
reasons
getting
that they're
these?
writing
Where
to their
where are you
owners,
finding
but none
these?
of them, of course, articulate any particular moment in time that was pleasant.
Right.
Library of Congress, some universities have them, and so they were able to write these in different ways because as an enslaved person, you weren't allowed to be literate. You were taught,
Right.
a Christian Bible as an instrument of control. But there were some slaves, especially if they worked in the house, that were able to teach themselves literacy by happenstance. There was often, not often, but there were some where the owner families, like a daughter, a sympathetic daughter who had a slave playmate, or
Right.
an empathetic lady of the house who would teach the slave to read,
Right.
or would write the letter on behalf of the slave.
Right.
So, and they range from Frederick Douglass, who was once enslaved, and his letters, to a woman who was enslaved writing a plantation owner trying to find if her daughter, who had been separated and sold from her, how was she? And the interesting thing about these letters is that usually in the body of the letter, that they express how they're willing to talk to the master despite some of the cruel things that the master did to them.
Right.
So it might say, well, I'm not holding you, I'm not bearing a grudge against you, even though you told Joe to try to level. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to put that together for a
that would
stage
be awesome.
performance.
That
I
would
have
be
to
awesome.
narrow the letters down and then build
So
some
let's.
vignettes around them.
Are you aware
But
that
I'm hoping to have that done for
are
Juneteenth.
you aware that the book Cast has been made into a movie called Origin? Do you know the book Cast?
No,
Cast? You don't know the book?
no.
Oh my
I have to.
God! This
Yes,
book,
but
this book is
but I didn't know anything
it's a must
about.
read. It's a must read for any white person.
Yes. I know.
It's a must read, even for people who think that they're okay.
Yes,
They need to read this book.
she was on. Right. Well, I know she's doing the movie, and here's the
movie.
thing
Yeah.
that is interesting is that she didn't turn to commercial supporters for this.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She turned to philanthropy to try to help get this movie done.
Oh, well, that's a good because this way she
but I
wasn't
can
beholden
understand
to anybody.
why she
Right,
would,
but
because
I can't wait to see this movie because the book
commercial
was
sponsors.
out of this world amazing.
Exactly.
And so I can't wait to see the movie. So I'm pretty excited about this.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw it on one of
Yeah.
the talk shows or something. She was
It's
talking
going to
to
be
somebody.
good. I mean, well, she's so provocative in her work.
Well, this
Yeah.
Isabel
Yeah.
Wilkerson is
Unspoken
brilliant.
system that has shaped America. Yeah.
There's another book
And
that
you
she
know-
wrote. I want to read too now because she's just so smart.
Yes. Yeah.
I like smart people.
I should go then.
Yes.
I'll see ya.
Yes.
No,
Oh,
Paul.
Helps
cut
the
it out.
brain.
Cut it out. You're amazing. You're a
No.
creative genius. So what are you talking about?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you have an amazing way of looking at the world, and how can you say that that's anything but brilliant?
That's
Um,
good. Good point, Paula.
You know, I find your work amazing.
well, thanks. I try to look at things differently than other people do. I'm always looking at things beyond what people are normally seeing. So
Well, that's what
So-
makes you a great photographer. You know, you can't be a great photographer without being able to see something other people don't see.
oh, I
Okay.
get questions. I get
He's
questioned
great.
all the time. I'll be taking a picture and they're like, "What the hell is this guy taking a picture of?" It might be
Oh,
something
I know.
microscopic, you know. Yeah.
I tend to take pictures of things
Yeah.
that nobody
but
else.
they're
wants.
great.
Yeah, they're great. All right, so we have
Yeah.
I can't see the time clock.
Well, you
because
know,
I'm not on the
12 minutes.
We have like 12 minutes.
okay. So, Richard, what else was on your list today?
Is anybody aware of a YouTube creator named Dan Shikos?
No, I'm not.
He's your average Russian man, as you can see. And what he does is he takes his camera and he just walks around the streets of his city in Russia and he talks about what's going on.
Really?
He said something in his latest video called Russian Streets. You know, Russian Streets, minus 15 degrees. He said, in Russia, you very, very rarely will see a homeless person. And then he said something else. He said, and there's another thing you will rarely ever see. And
That's too cold.
an abandoned building. He says, because no matter how bad a building is run down, the government will swoop in, take the building, and give it to a poor person.
That's amazing. I mean, that's a great policy.
Isn't it?
That is a wonderful policy, Richard. Thank you.
I mean, it's almost like, why don't all governments do that?
Well, unfortunately, everything has become disposable.
It's because if some homeless person gets hurt, they'll sue the
Well, you know,
town.
Germany
That's why.
did something similar with their.
Yes,
And
Laura?
Germany,
Yeah.
my
Well, you
brother-
know, Germany does something similar with their immigrants.
Well, Celeste, you're right, because my brother lived in Germany.
They
for-
recently shut down a Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she
and they shut a business down in order to accommodate the influx of
Thank you.
immigrants and refugees. I guess would be the
I'm going to
distinction between the two to
my
avoid
brother, right.
tent
My
cities.
brother was in shock.
Yeah,
Came from Germany back to the United States, and there was homeless people. He said there's no such thing in Germany. No such thing.
mm-hmm.
Very
And he was
similar.
in absolute shock that there was such a thing happening, and to the extent to which it's happening in this country.
Huh. I
Mm-hmm.
know that. I know
Yeah.
that right now we have a bigger crisis than ever, but also our system of our economic system doesn't help because we're allowing all these companies to come in and buy all these houses and charge exorbitant rents, and then people can't afford to live inside. I mean, one of the things I wrote in my journal this morning was, I am so
No.
grateful that I live indoors. I mean, think about what that must be like. Especially these people that came from
Yes.
South America and Mexico who are living in Chicago in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrifying.
When we start to put the onus of responsibility on people and blame people for being homeless, we have a huge problem in this country because not all these people are making bad moves.
It's not the fault of the people.
There is such a thing. There is such a thing as the working poor, where people are working 2, 3 jobs a week just to put food on the table and a roof over their head. It's a pretty scary thing. And we have people working 2 jobs that are homeless. This is
right.
Yeah, well,
we
the problem is our entire system is set up to benefit a very select few people who are fortunate enough to be able to afford to run things, and they don't care what happens to anybody else.
No, there's no human empathy. They don't care about if it doesn't affect them financially, it doesn't affect them, and that's a pretty sad place to be.
Paula. Good point. If it doesn't affect them financially, it doesn't affect them. Powerful words.
Well, no, that's not quite exactly, because just because something that happens over here affects these types of people financially, they can just say, oh well, I'll just go over here and get my money from this other endeavor that I'm involved in. And just because what is going on in this part of my life isn't productive right now, all these other things I've got going on are. So I'll just ignore what's not being
they have
just cut it out completely, even if it doesn't benefit anyone but themselves to do so.
Well, it's right. They've got more than one. They've got their eggs in more than one basket. But the thing about even now with kind of the one place where people who were poor could own something was in a trailer park. That was one of the few places. Trailers were cheap. And you could own it. You had to pay rent for the space that you had your trailer on, but you could own that. And now there are companies going in and buying those trailer parks, and they're raising the rents to such a degree that people can no longer even afford that. And it's
not just that though. It's like, okay, so these people over here, they make enough money that they can afford a modest little 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom trailer, but we're gonna only offer them land to put the trailer on if they can't buy something for themselves that is in an area that is not, as useful as it could be. So when a catastrophic weather event occurs, their trailer is now destroyed and the insurance that they've been paying for is refusing to cover the damage because their trailer was in a tornado zone to begin with, because that's the only place that was being offered for them to put it in the
Right.
first
So,
place.
right, insurance
now
won't cover it. There's
Now the
special insurance.
The person who owned the trailer played by all the rules, did everything correctly, had the job, built their credit, bought the trailer, put it on, in a trailer park, paid for renters or homeowners type insurances and so forth. But now that this, freak occurrence of nature has gone on, the insurance company is going to just like sit right there and look them in the eye and be like, oh, well, yes, we do cover this type of damage, but not in the area that your trailer was located, because it's so common that these things happen in that area that we don't cover that part of your county.
My sister lives in Florida, and she got her house insurance was canceled because they no longer will cover anything in Florida because of all the disasters. So,
Exactly.
These things, that's why we have insurance, because we need to be protected. But I don't know.
I think somebody's forgotten this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Well,
I
I've decided that Florida is another planet.
This is true, Celeste. Florida is another planet, but insurance companies run this nation. And I will say from my own experience, last year when we had that horrifying storm, I had a major flood in my basement, okay? And my insurance company, even though I pay all the time, refused to pay me and help me with it. And the blessing is that I had the money to get out of it, okay? But refused to help me because I was not covered. I didn't have a flood waiver. Now, the plumbers, the electricians, everybody told me to lie. And I refused. I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. People told me to lie and say that I had a busted pipe. I had a plumber tell me, I will sign a document just to help you out. Because people know that insurance companies in this nation are just not correct.
Well, I mean, most of the things in this nation.
They're not.
I mean, I'm 51 years old and I've been dealing with several different issues the last few years. And, everyone, Republicans, being everyone, are going to sit there and say, no, little children people, you don't want us to have socialized medicine. That would be awful. You'd never get the care you need. Well, I don't have socialized medicine. I have insurance. And I'm still going through what my friends in the UK and Canada are sometimes going through, which is wait a month or two to go to your doctor, wait another 3 months to see the specialist, wait a couple more months for the tests that
is
you
true.
need to have done to be done, because every single step has to have authorization. And even though I'm going to a specialist for my trigger finger, the carpal tunnel in the same hand is not the same problem. So now I have to go back to my doctor and wait another 2 months for that referral to get that taken care of. And a year later, now I've had the surgery I need and have recovered enough to go back to the job I need to be working at to afford the insurance that doesn't want to be cooperative.
Yeah, I know, but it has a lot to do with what insurance you have too, because
One more minute.
Not every.
No, it
doesn't.
How many?
Everyone that
One more minute, Paula.
One more minute. Okay. All right. So let's all take a step back here. Okay. So I'm gonna start thanking people now because there's a lot of people.
Whoops! I lost track of time. Sorry about that.
So I'm going
Thank you,
to.
Paula, for having us.
Yeah, this was a lot. I don't think I've had this many women on the show in a long time. I don't think I ever have.
What a treat to see you.
Was the other time.
So
And I
anyway,
follow your place.
I want to thank everybody
It's good
for
to see you, too.
participating. And I want to thank Tom for making the dangerous journey to the home of the future in the storm. And please be careful going home because I worry about you.
Everyone stay
Yeah.
safe. Stay
And
warm.
and everybody stay safe and warm and you know, have a nice hot cup of tea
Yeah.
and relax. So
Yeah, great
Celeste,
idea.
you don't have to go anywhere, do you, Celeste?
You too.
Make sure you're hunkered down.
Well, you know, Paula,
No,
blend my
I
own-
put my car in a parking ramp.
Oh, good.
I'm hunkered down.
Okay, good.
And what were you saying, Virginia?
I blend my own tea, so I'm going to take a nice
Yeah.
relaxed tea. That was a great suggestion. Thank you.
Well, I don't get that creative with food. I do cook. I do
Yeah.
cook. I made healthful cookies. Tom liked them, right, Tom?
Yeah.
See that?
I make
Say
helpful
goodbye,
cookies. I make helpful.
You do you?
But yeah,
I'm
marijuana
proud of
cookies.
you.
Oh, are you still in a cast, Paula?
No,